All right, so today I'm going to show you how to disassemble, clean, and reassemble a handgun. So firearms are an important part of society in today's culture here in America. And they do need to be kept clean to keep the longevity of the firearm. And so the purpose that I'm doing this speech on is that every year there are deaths because people don't understand how to properly clean a firearm. So that's why I'm going to show you how to today. So what you do first, you always make sure that there's not anything that you don't want to kill in front of the barrel. So if you're not planning on killing it, don't point it there. Secondly, you never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to fire. So the way you want to hold it is always keep your finger on the outside. So the first step when it comes to disassembling, you remove the magazine, you rack the slide back to make sure there's no round inside, you let it go, and a firearm like this, which is a striker fired, you want to pull the trigger because otherwise you have tension on the spring and you won't be able to remove the slide. So to remove the slide, simply you rock this back just slightly until you hear that slight click. You push the button down and the slide comes off, and then you want to push your thumb down and remove the spring and then remove the barrel. And you've got your slide. And this is really just more of a quick kind of field strip way to clean a firearm. So now we're going to move on to the cleaning. So the first point you're going to do is make sure you have the proper tools. So I set these out aside just to kind of save some time, but what you're first going to want to do is make sure you find a cloth pad that fits the caliber your barrel is. So there's many different calibers. This firearm just happens to be a 9mm. So you're first going to find your size that fits the 9mm. You're going to take your gun oil and you're going to spray it. And what this does is it removes any debris or any blockage that would be in the barrel that would prevent firing. So you'll just take your plunger and shove it through. And that oil also allows it to lubricate it so you're not running into the issue of getting your cloth stuck in there. So then what you're going to want to do is, and this just happens, it removes and takes apart very easily, takes down. You'll want to move on to your needle nose eye hole plunger with a pad inside. And this is the way I'm cleaning it. This is how I was taught by my dad, and so that's why I'm doing it the way I am. So then you'll take your pad, you'll spray a little gun oil on the pad, and you'll do the same thing. Now this time what you're going to want to do is push it all the way through so it flattens out the pad again, and then you're going to pull it out, push it back in, pull it out, and push it back in a couple times. And what that does is it just removes the gunpowder residue that's left in the barrel, which over time can actually break down your barrel and cause minor fractures or any other thing if you don't keep it well cleaned. And this goes with any kind of firearm, whether it be a handgun like this, or a revolver, or even a rifle, or shotgun. You just want to keep that barrel clean and lubricated. So after that, what I like to do is then, once I get that barrel clean, I'll take a rag, spray some gun oil on it, where I can use it more, and I'll just wipe down all my internals. That just lubricates it, it keeps the dust or whatever gunpowder residue is on it from breaking down the firearm. But it also allows all the moving parts to work. So big one that I do here is I'll take my gun oil and clean all the spots where the frame and the slide come in contact with each other. That way you've got a moving part. It's kind of like a machine. You want to keep everything to where it slides, otherwise you're going to get it to cause friction and break down. So clean everything out. That also removes all the dirt and everything else out of the internal portion of the slide. So you should have some grimy dirt there. Next, what I like to do is I'll spray some of this on here, and I go over the metal part of the slide, and that's just simply as a way to prevent rust from happening on it. It cleans it off, and the oil does have some water resistance to it, so it does help with moisture in the air, or if you drop it or whatever like that in water. So after that, I'll take a dry rag and wipe this off, because you don't want too much, otherwise you run into the issue of dirt will stick. My brother-in-law, who's in the Army, he says they don't want a whole lot of oil, because then it gets packed with dirt and different things like that. And so if you're in a situation where you have to defend yourself, you don't want your gun jamming because of the dirt or grime that's stuck in there because you over-oiled it. So after that's all done, what you're going to want to do is reassemble it. So you're first going to take your barrel, stick your barrel right back in the right direction. If I can get this. Oh, come on. There we go. So you're going to make sure it's stuck back in there the right way. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your spring, push it down with your thumb, make sure it's lined up in the front here, and slide it into the little divot that they carve into this that applies some tension onto the spring. Then you're going to take your frame, you're going to line up all these little notches right here into these little notches, and you're going to slide it on. And I like to make it go all the way back. That way I make sure all the trigger components and everything else have lined up. And then you'll just make sure your trigger's depressed. And then depending on how and what you're going to use your firearm for, so like in this sense, I just put this one in the gun safe because this is just a carry gun. But my bigger handgun, I'll actually reapply the mag, because I keep that by the bedside, and so I want that mag in there. And then once you're done, just make sure it's wiped off, the frame's wiped off of the excess oil, everything else like that, and you're good to go. So overall, the reason I show this is while they are tools in today's society, and that's the purpose of them, they are dangerous. It's just like if you're driving down the road and you haven't changed your oil in 50,000 miles, your engine may stop and you're a big rolling block in the middle of the road. It's the same idea, in the sense of if you don't take the proper precautions and take care of your firearm, you will run into either the issue of it jamming when you don't need it to jam, like a self-defense situation, a issue of if you take it out to the range and you fire off some rounds, it could jam and explode in your hands, which is a really bad situation, because not only do you possibly lose fingers or parts of your face, you also lose your $500, $600, maybe $1,000 gun as well. So there's a lot of those issues that you want to make sure that you're cleaning it properly, you're making sure it's good, set, and everything else. So altogether, that's how I personally clean a handgun without going into a full-on depth. So there you are.